In my video looking back at why Fur Hire was tier 0, I briefly mentioned that Cyber Angels had the honor of being considered tier 0 as well. However, looking back at late 2017 and the rise of Cyber Angels, I find myself wondering, was the deck ever actually tier 0? Or was it a misnomer for a deck that was indubitably strong but not game-warpingly so? And what was it that made Cyber Angels so powerful anyway? Join me today on this bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links history as we uncover if Cyber Angel was tier 0. Cyber Angels were introduced to Duel Links on September 28, 2017 with the release of the new GX world, the first of many to come. But before that, the metagame was revolving around 4 decks: Red Eye Zombie Turbo, Ninjas, Toon Barrel Dragon, and Psychics. Yeah, really. Red Eye Zombie Turbo was a deck focused around sending Red Eye Zombie Dragon to the graveyard and reviving it over and over and over and over and over again. Red Eye Zombie Dragon itself was little more than a 2400 attack vanilla that could occasionally be tribute summoned with 1 tribute, but it was incredibly easy to access. Gozuki and Red Eye's Insight could both send it easily, and Red Eye Spirit and Wyvern could revive it. Spirit could even be searched with Insight. Thanks to the skill Beatdown, you'd basically have access to a 2700 attack beater at the very least every turn. It was, by and large, the deck to beat. Ninjas were the best deck to use the skill 3-star Demotion before its eventual nerf. It used to allow you to pay 2000 life points to reduce the levels of every monster in your hand by 3. This would allow you to easily summon Black Dragon Ninja, which could banish a monster on the field, and Red Dragon Ninja, which could return any set card to the top or bottom of the deck. Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke was the best ninja around due to being level 4, which was the perfect level to be able to summon the Dragon Ninjas from deck with Ninjutsu Art of Transformation. With 2800 attack, Black Dragon Ninja was the strongest boss monster of its time, and 3 SD Ninjas were arguably the second best deck of the pre-GX era. Toon Barrel Dragon also used 3 stars Demotion to summon the namesake monster for basically free. Why the Toon version of Barrel Dragon and not the regular one? Well, it's because the Toon version can be searched with Toon Table of Contents, which could also search Toon Kingdom, protecting Toon Barrel Dragon and allowing it to attack directly. The deck was significantly more flexible than the previous 2 when it came to tech choices, having only 5 core cards to its name. Some people chose to pair it with a small Red Eyes engine consisting of Spirit and Insight because of course, but also the vanilla Red Eyes and Champion's Vigilance, which is basically Solemn Judgment. And then there is Psychics, which was more of an anti-meta deck. Cards like Destructrotron and Psychokinesis could get rid of your opponent's card with ease before sweeping in for massive damage thanks to Power Injector and Reinforced Human Psychic Borg, what a name. Serene Psychic Witch enabled easy access to all of those, and the deck benefited from the life point cost of the psychic monsters by using No Mortal Can Resist as a skill, which was pretty good against graveyard-centric strategies. What Psychic Fighter was another tool to remove potential graveyard threats. It's like the deck was tailor-made to counter Red Eyes specifically. Of course, there were many more playable decks at the time. Nephthys Beatdown was a deck recurring Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys to nuke back row pretty much every turn before closing games, but had some issues surviving before then, and was susceptible to graveyard disruption. Mausoleum Turbo was focused around searching and summoning Invader of Darkness with ease. That was a pretty huge boss monster that countered Enemy Controller, which I'm gonna talk about more soon. Naturia was an incredibly cheap beatdown deck using Naturia Maron and Pumpkin to summon Hydrangea and stack Beetle with ease, and as a fun little anecdote, it was the first competitive deck that I ever made. Mill was also around using cards like Warm Worm and Hero Shadow Scout to, well, mill your opponent out of the game. Before Desperado existed, this deck was the first to unironically use Cup of Ace, which was either a Pot of Greed or got your opponent closer to decking out. Looking back at the competitive scene in 2017, it really surprised me how developed it was for the time. Decade Meta Championship Series had 2 showings thus far, with a prize support of over $1,000 for each. Needless to say, I'm extremely thankful for all the work put in by the Duel Links Meta team over the years, without which this video would probably have been a lot shorter. Staple of the times included, but were not limited to, Enemy Controller, an amazingly versatile card that was basically an auto-include for any deck at the time, Sphere Karibo, the first end trap the game ever had, and a card that was impossible to really interact with, Mirror Wall, an amazing barrel trap that could turn games on its own, Super Rush Headlong, another powerful quick play that acted as non-targeted removal, Storm, which was pretty much the only good back row removal option at the time, and last but not least, Windstorm of Etaqua and Curse of Anubis probably deserve both a mention here. And that's pretty much where we were right before GX World launched in Duel Links, a new world that would change everything. GX World launched on September 28, 2017 with a grand total of 5 characters: Jaden, Aster, Chaz, Alexis, and this guy. People immediately noticed how amazingly powerful Hydrogeddon was, a card that completely eclipsed previous Dino beaters such as Twig-Dead King Rex or Crawling Dragon No. 2, even though it fell short of the glory that was Cabazol's. A new main box also released a couple of days before. Generation Next with actually rather interesting cards. The Horus line, Evil Dragon Ananta, Typhoon and Card Guard all seemed pretty interesting, not to mention one of the most notorious traps of all of Duel Links history, Floodgate Trapple. But that's not why you're here for Cyber Angels, so let's just get to it. Cyber Angels were an overly aggressive ritual deck which ended up both incredibly consistent and really powerful for the time. Their boss monster was Cyber Angel Dakini, a 2700 attack piercer that also removed a monster on your opponent's field on summon, non-targeting, non-destruction. It also recycled your ritual spells and monsters, because why wouldn't it? The other ritual monsters the deck played, Cyber Angels Ben 10 and Idaten, were also pretty good. Both were level 6, meaning you could summon one off of the other. Ben 10, also known as Drytron Combo Piece, searches any light fairy monster when tributed, but also deals some solid burn damage on her own, while Idaten, which was hard limited at 1 copy at the time, searched a ritual spell on summon and boosted your ritual monsters when it was tributed. The deck also had access to Cyber Petite Angel, which could either search an archetypal ritual spell or monster on summon, though it was limited to 2 copies at the time. Still, having it alongside Sonic Bird and Senju of the Thousand Hands meant the deck was incredibly consistent. Last but not least, the ritual spells were no slouch either. Machine Angel Absolute Ritual could shuffle resources back into your deck, making it extremely valuable in the mid to late game, but Machine Angel Ritual was obviously the better of the two thanks to its graveyard effect serving as protection from destruction. If we were to compare Cyber Angels to the previous best deck, Red Eye Zombie Turbo, it's really clear which of the two is the most explosive, but Red Eye's consistency and recursion meant it was still more than capable of challenging the new Cyber Angel deck. Which begs the question, was Cyber Angel actually a tier 0 deck? Well, the source I found for this claim was none other than a Decade video calling the deck tier 0 in a Ladder Climb video. However, in the first major tournament I could find where Cyber Angels were legal, aka Meta Championship Series 3, on October 15, 2017, the deck performed well but not ridiculously so. It was the most played deck in the tournament, but Red Eyes went that far behind. In fact, the winner of MCS3 decided to enter the tournament with 2 Red Eyes decks. By October, of course, new deck had entered the meta. Dinos were back thanks in no small part to Destroyosaurus, which is one of my favorite card names of all time, while Burn decks had gotten a new tool with Massive Morph, which worked really well with Amazonas Swordswoman. Servant of Kings, the first GX mini-box released on October 17th, would also include 2 new powerful staples, Wall of Disruption and Forbidden Chalice. Later that month, Ancient Gears would be introduced to Duel Links through the Crowler Unlock event, but they didn't do much to upstage Cyber Angels or Red Eyes despite an impressive boss monster. The deck has a really good track record of winning smaller tournaments, but not so much the big ones. The new Forbidden and Limited list released on November 6, 2017 would limit one Machine Angel ritual, but also limit two Red-Eye Spirit, hurting the top two decks of the current metagame. The new main box Galactic Origin was also released on the very same day and introduced Gladiator Beasts to Duel Links, which would quickly become a very powerful contender of their own, and Cosmic Cyclone the best back row removal in the game to this very day. However, it also added a new toy for Cyber Angel decks to play with, Saphira, Queen of Dragons. As a level 6 ritual, it could easily be summoned by tributing any Cyber Angel with the ritual spell Hymn of Light, which also had a graveyard protection effect. Each of the three effects were also key in generating card advantage over your opponent. This is arguably the strongest iteration of Cyber Angels, despite the loss of two Machine Angel rituals. It's been somewhat difficult to find data on MCS4, which occurred on December 9th, 2017 after the release of Blade of Spirits, but it seems that Gladiator Beast did indeed take the meta by storm, although Cyber Angels wasn't that far behind. In fact, the winner of MCS4 was on Burn and AZ Flames, two decks specifically designed to counter Cyber Angels. Konami probably realized that Cyber Angels was still the most polarizing deck of the metagame because on December 20th, 2017, a new banlist was announced. Cyber Angel Dakini and Machine Angel Ritual would be both moved to Limited 2, with Konami explaining that this meant players could only have a maximum of 2 copies of both combined. This is basically why the Limited 2 list is, well, the way it is today. In practice, it meant that players would only have access to 1 copy of Dakini or 1 copy of Machine Angel Ritual. MCS5 was played on January 28th under this ban list with a rather remarkable pricing pool of over $4,000. Despite the nerfs, Cyber Angel was still the second most represented deck of the tournament, tied with Red Eyes right after Gladiator Beasts. It's actually rather impressive when you think about it. Despite being taken down several pegs, Cyber Angel was still good enough to not only see widespread tournament play, but also win, because Cyber Angels won MCS5 but were also the 2nd and 4th place contender as well. So, what happened next? Well, Primal Burst released and introduced the Bamboo Sword FTK to the game, which required not 1 but 2 emergency ban lists, so that soured things for a while. Then Resonance of Contrast was introduced, with Red Eye Slash Dragon, followed by Abyss Encounters, then March of the Forest, and yeah, the game marched on. Though decks like Red Eye Zombie, Cyber Angels, and Gladiator Beast kept seeing play for a very long time, they were eventually power crept by Steel Stealth Attack, Aliens, Sylvans, and many more. Still, if Duel Links meta is to be believed, Cyber Angel was still a decent tier 3 deck by March 2018, even seeing a peak at tier 2 in April due to an excellent Sylvans matchup, before being removed from the tier list in May as the deck simply struggled too much against Amazonas and Spellbooks, the new cool kids in town. The June 2018 ban list would be the final nail in the coffin for Cyber Angels, putting Cyber Petite Angel at Limited 2, effectively killing the deck for good. Cyber Petite Angel would eventually be moved to Limited 1 in October of 2019, more than a year later. It would take until March 2020 for Cyber Petite Angel to be freed entirely, and until July 2021 for Dakini to be unlimited as well, with Konami citing that Dakini was allowed to be freed because, hey, Trinade got banned. Machine Angel Ritual stayed longer on the list due to Witchcrafter-related crimes, but was eventually freed in April 2023. It spent 6 years on the ban list. Needless to say, despite getting some support over the years, Cyber Angels have never been made relevant again, but their impact on the game cannot be overstated. Was it really tier 0 though? I don't think so, but it definitely was one of the first Duel Links decks that felt unfair to play against and the most controversial of the early GX era. Thank you for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it. It has been rather nostalgic looking back at Cyber Angels because I do remember, playing the game around that time and building ancient gears and whatnot and feeling like You know, it kind of sucks when your 3000 attack beta just gets removed from the field by a weirdo with a bunch of arms and swords. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and comment, maybe some fond memories that you might have about this time period of Duel Links history. Maybe even let me know if there's another deck that you'd like me to cover. If you'd like to support my endeavors, I have a Ko-fi page and I'm going to set up a Patreon page really soon, so you can directly help me make this channel better by first and foremost replacing this terrible mic that I'm using that has a weird background noise that you could hear all the way through that I think was really annoying for a lot of you. So no obligations of course, but any show of support is appreciated. That also goes for, you know, liking and commenting and sharing my videos to any that might be interested. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you guys and gals and non-binary pals next time.